Alright, so today's opener is going to resemble your quiz, with the only exception, your quiz only has 3 problems on it rather than 4. So, the directions say to simplify each of the following square roots. To solve these, you're going to use your notes that we took on Monday and Tuesday. There are 4 steps in order to simplify the square roots. So let's look at the first one, the square root of 90. What does step 1 say to do, Rihanna? What does step 1 say to do?
Factor the radicand and rewrite the radicand with the prime factorization.
Good. So we're going to factor the radicand. If you remember, the radicand is the inside number. It's the number on the inside of my square root sign. So what 2 numbers can I use to multiply together to get 90?
19.
Okay. And for 9?
3.
And those are prime, so I'm going to circle them. For 10?
2, 5.
And those are prime, so I'm going to circle them. So that's the first part of step 1. Then I'm going to come up. I'm going to make sure I write my equal sign so I do not lose a point. And then I'm going to write these prime numbers in my radicand. So my prime numbers I want to write in order from least to greatest. So what do I have here?
2 multiply 3 multiply 3 multiply 5.
Okay, make sure your square root sign is long enough. That's all of step 1. Brendan, what's step 2? Nope, step 2. Yeah, circle your factor pairs. Step 3, Kelsey. Put another equal sign.
Each factor pair in the radicand equals 1 factor.
Okay, so each factor pair here becomes a single number on the outside. So I'm going to cancel that second 3 with my square root sign, and then that means that other 3 that's by itself in that factor pair gets moved to the outside as a coefficient. One way you can look at it, this is a house. They're all in the house. The pairs get kicked out to a single number. So then what do you still have left under the square root sign? The 2 and the 5. Step 4 then is to simplify here. So what can I simplify? Yeah. And it's going to stay under the square root, which is 10. How many of you guys got that? Good. So here's where your points are going to come from. Your quiz today is worth 4 points. 12 points. So 4 points on each one. You will get a point for showing your work, your equal sign, and your box. So this here, the equal signs in the box is all worth 1 point. So if you forget an equal sign, you automatically lose that point. Okay? 2 points come from rewriting your prime numbers in the radicand. Okay? So you're going to get 2 points for this. So there's 3 points. And then a point for the right answer. So each question, 4 points for a total of 12 points. All right, let's take a look at the next one. There are 2 ways that you can solve this. So you have the square root of 81. If you're looking at this, how many guys... The square root of 81 could be considered a what?
A perfect square.
A perfect square. So you can show your work 2 different ways on this. What's one way that we can show our work for a perfect square? Anybody know? Darius? The square root of 9 squared cancels, which equals just 9.
Okay, I got that.
But let's say you didn't know that it was a perfect square from the beginning. So then we could use our notes that we took Monday, Tuesday. So what I'm going to write here in the red is probably what a lot of you guys wrote down. So what are our 2 numbers that we can multiply together to get 81? 9 and 9. So then I can factor each 9. What 2 numbers can you multiply together to get your 9?
3.
So I'm going to circle all my prime numbers.
Okay, I got that.
I'm going to come over, write my equal sign, my square root sign, and all my 3's under my square root sign. From here, what do I do? Circle my pairs. And they move to the outside, right? They don't go under the square root sign anymore because they canceled. So then what's 3 times 3?
9. That's
9.
what I did.
So
I did it that way.
either way is acceptable. The big thing is you just have to show your work. So if you get a perfect square, either way to show your work is acceptable.
So it was okay to do it.
It's not a square root of 9 though. See what I have that you don't have?
Okay.
Because square and square root cancel, which equals just 9. All right, let's take a look at the back side now. What's different about this one compared to the other ones?
It has the code.
Yeah, it starts with the coefficient. We're going to ignore this coefficient for the first part of step 1. So we're going to come back to this guy. We're not going to worry about it for right now. So we're still going to go ahead and factor 210. So what two numbers can you multiply together to get 210?
14 and 15.
14 and 15, 10 and... So we're going to use 10 and 21. If you use 14 and 15, that's fine too. What two numbers can you multiply together to get 10?
25.
And 21. I'm going to put my equal sign. Now, before I rewrite this, I have to remember to bring this coefficient over. So I'm going to leave that coefficient on the outside because it's not a square root. So I put my coefficient, then I put my square root sign, then I'm going to put my prime numbers that are part of that square root under there. So what do I write under my square root sign?
2 times 3 times 5 times.
Okay. Do I have any factor pairs?
Nope. So you just keep it as the same.
Good. So since I don't have any factor pairs, I'm just going to go ahead and simplify because I can't do step 2 then. I can't do step 3. So I go ahead and just simplify. Do I have any number on my coefficient that I can multiply it together with? Nah, so it just stays the same. Inside of my square root, I'm going to take 2 times 3 times 5 times 7 and end up with what?
210.
So what does this tell us? It's the same number, so the 2 square root 210 was already in what?
Perfect number.
No, it's not a perfect square. It was already in simplest form. Right. These need to be put up. There shouldn't be on at all. All right. Questions on that one? Okay. Make sure you have it right on your opener. Let's look at the next one then. All right. The last one here, 2100. What two numbers can I use to multiply together to get 2100, Darius?
Can you get like 21 and 100?
Yeah. So you can do 21 and 100. All right. What do I use for 21?
3 and 7.
3 and 7, Rihanna.
For 100, use 10, 10.
And then
2, 5, 2, 5.
if you use different numbers, that's okay. Okay. Then from here, what do I do, Brendan? Put my square root sign first and then least to greatest. So what does that look like?
2 times 2 times 5 times 5.
Wait, you're forgetting something. 2 times 2 times. Nope. 3. There you go.
Times 5 times 5.
All right. Jemiah, now what?
Something apart.
Which are?
2 and 5.
Isaiah, now what?
You underline 37.
Say again.
You underline 37 and then
Why do I underline those?
because they ain't got no pairs.
They don't have any pairs and they're going to stay put. Go ahead.
And then you do 2 times 5. And then you put your what the thing called? Route
Square root sign.
square root sign. And then you put 3 times 7 in there.
Good. So my factor pairs canceled. Became a single number on the outside. The ones that I couldn't move stay on the inside. And then the last step. Devontae? What do you do last? How do I finish this off? So I'm going to simplify. So that means I'm going to multiply my outside number. So what's my coefficient? My outside number is my coefficient. times, which equals, okay, so my new coefficient is 10. And then I'm going to simplify my radicand, my inside numbers, which is 21. And then I'm going to, that's a really ugly 21. Let's rewrite that. There we go. And I'm going to box it for my final answer.